super grateful to myself for taking it seriously because as history has shown with my own actual mother, that is a highly, highly dangerous situation, and it could have ended me. Let me say that. Let's just be real. That could have been the end of Kaylan. It's still shocking that happened. It's no, I'm Hey everyone, it's me, Kaylan. Welcome back to my channel. For those of you who are new here, my name is Kaylan. I'm a Black American who has been living in the Southern African nation of Namibia since December of 2010. I'm a native New Yorker. I have 3 children, 2 boys and 1 girl, 1 boy who's 9 years old, a girl who is 3 years old, and then my newest addition to the family is my son who is 2 months old. At the opening of this video, you heard some singing, and that was actually my Namibian mother-in-law and my husband just a few days ago singing some Christian hymns in their mother tongue of Oshiwambo. So the last time you guys saw me, I was about 7 months pregnant. And now I am no longer pregnant. I am 2 months postpartum. My son is 2 months old, as I mentioned. And in this video, I'm going to tell you about my birth story and some surprising complications that I had, unfortunately, postpartum that I'm recovering from right now. Here's my daughter, Shell. Okay, she just ran away. Oh, here she is again. Look, so they can see her. There she is. That's Shell. She's 3. So first, here's a quick clip just to show you the morning of my scheduled C-section on the 22nd of August. Okay, it's like 6:02 a.m. I'm at the hospital. This is the last bump shot. And Dad is here. Another rare appearance. And I'm getting ready to change into my hospital gown. Last night and this morning I had to bathe with a surgical soap. And that's pretty much it. Shell and Lance are at home. I'm sure when Shell wakes up, she's going to be crying, but she's at home with grandma and brother and cousin. Okay, I have to go change into my gown and give some urine. So as you guys saw, we had a scheduled C-section on the 22nd of August. It went, for the most part, smoothly. I will say this is my 3rd C-section, and it was kind of the most difficult. The doctors were great. It was just really me. I just had this weird sensation throughout the surgery that was just increasingly difficult to deal with. I felt like this sort of subtle rushing sensation throughout my body. And I was trying to breathe through it, and the doctors sort of noticed and asked me, actually offered me something to calm me down, and I eventually accepted it. I mean, they warned me that it would send me on a bit of a trip, and it did. It had everyone sounding sort of like an echo. It was almost like an out-of-body experience. Right after my son was born, the doctors detected that his heart was something was a little bit off. They told me that he had a hole in his heart, a bit of a heart murmur. And so long story short, we ended up being sent to the capital city right after, like within an hour, in an ambulance. And the capital city is about 2.5 hours away. So they sent us to the capital city so that we could have the baby seen at a hospital with physicians that had the equipment to examine exactly what was happening in his heart. I live in a town that is smaller, and so they don't have all of those resources, so they immediately sent us to the capital where those resources exist, so they could just see exactly what was going on with his heart. Was he okay? And that was within, as I said, that was within an hour after the C-section, maybe an hour and a half. It was very quick. So we arrived in the capital. Long story short, there's my daughter again. His heart is fine. So this is my son, Ekanjo Gregory Shipanga. Ekanjo means the strongest one in my husband's mother tongue, which is Oshiwambo here in Namibia. And Ekanjo is named after his late great grandfather. That's my husband's late grandfather, whose name was also Ekanjo. I knew my husband's late grandfather. I met him many times. Whenever I would go to the village, he was always extremely kind-hearted to me, and I always noted that. He would always just inquire as to how I was doing, and despite the language barrier, despite the age difference, the cultural difference, he was also blind. He was just extremely kind to me, and I will never forget that. And the ironic thing is that when he passed away, at his funeral, when I looked at the funeral booklet, did I see that he and I actually shared the same birthday. So he was an amazing person. And then my son's middle name is Gregory, and that is after my own father, whose name is Gregory. He is a big-time attorney. He's a hotshot attorney in New York City. That was a Thursday, and on a Sunday we were discharged and sent back to my town here, which is Oshivarongo. I came back home. About 3 weeks later, around September 18th, I started having some chest pain. It was like chest pain on the right side, pains on the right side. It was chest pain, rib pain, shoulder pain, shortness of breath, fatigue, and this sort of dry cough or this lingering subtle urge to cough. And at first I brushed it off because that could have been gas or heartburn. But what I did notice is that it wouldn't get better with position. Particularly when I lay down, it was even worse. At first I brushed it off because I didn't, those are types of symptoms that easily you would think, oh, maybe it's gas or just I pulled a muscle or I've been holding the baby a lot. And so, I'm out of shape. So one day I actually went on a walk. This all happened like within 5 days. One day I went for a walk. I'm trying to get my postpartum, self back and get fresh air and go for walks. And I went on a walk and I just noticed that I was extremely fatigued from a simple walk. And that wasn't me. Yes, I just had a baby, but it was just a bit bizarre and I felt off. I just felt off. When I got back in, I was like, no, something is not right. I need to go to the doctor. I had actually made a doctor's appointment earlier in the week about this, but then I thought I was feeling better and I canceled it. But then I took this walk one day and immediately when I got home, I was like, something is off. I feel just this weird kind of like I'm dragging almost. I'm not like I'm heavier. So I immediately called the doctor. Luckily, they had an appointment at 3 o'clock that same day. I went to the doctor, told him, these are the symptoms I'm having. I just want to make sure that I don't have a blood clot because that is what my mother passed away from. I do have a video that I filmed a couple of years ago on my channel about my mother passing away from a blood clot. When I developed these symptoms, I started doing research on the internet. And so that is what put the idea of a blood clot in my mind. Because my mother passed away also from a blood clot, I am a bit hyper aware of those, that phrase and those symptoms. And so I had been doing research like on Reddit and stuff. So when I went to the doctor, I told him that. I said, I just want to make sure that I'm not having a blood clot. And he's like, sure, definitely. And so he said, let's send you for a chest x-ray. So right from there, I went for a chest x-ray. The next morning, the doctor's office called me before 8 a.m. and they told me that they wanted me to go get a CT scan immediately. I said, say no more, say less. So I went immediately to get the CT scan. Luckily, my mother-in-law was visiting, so she was able to help me hold the baby, watch my daughter, while I was getting the scan. It was extremely helpful. After the scan, I went back to the doctor's office. He already had the results, and he told me that I, in fact, had a blood clot in my lung, which was very shocking. I halfway didn't believe it because what are the odds of my mother passing away from that? She passed away from that in 2007 when she was 52 years old after a long drive on her own from New York to Mississippi. She developed a blood clot in her in her leg, and it went to her lung. So what are the odds of me having a blood clot in my lung? That, it was just so surreal and almost unbelievable. The doctors told me that it probably formed from traveling to the capital right after having the surgery. Being postpartum, having been pregnant, surgery, travel, those are all high risk factors for developing a blood clot. And that's what happened to me. I am physically not operating at 100%, unfortunately. I don't have that pain that I was having, that chest pain that was like to the point where even just lying down hurt. But what I do have is increased fatigue and exhaustion. For example, if I wear the baby in the baby carrier, or if I go for a walk, I get tired much sooner than I normally would. My body will ache. I get fatigued way, way, way sooner than I normally do. I used to be able to wear the baby totally fine in the carrier. Baby's fine in carriers, but this time around, I can't wear him for that long, which is frustrating. It's frustrating on a whole because new babies, you need a lot of physical, stamina. They require a lot of physical activity. The constant walking them up and down the hall because they like to be bounced. At least he does. They like to be, bounced, and it just takes a lot of physical work. Babies do, especially newborns. It's challenging because I am not operating at 100%. I would say maybe I'm about like 70% or so. But I'm just not 100%, and I just get wiped out very, very fairly quickly compared to my normal kaylan self. I also get a sort of funny sensation in my chest as well, just from doing things that normally I was totally fine doing. So that's the kind of blood clot hangover that I have. I have to inject myself twice a day, either in my thighs or my stomach, my lower stomach, with a blood thinner for 3 months. At first I was put on a blood thinner for 6 months, a pill. Then I went and saw a pulmonologist in the capital, and he suggested that I change it because I'm breastfeeding, change to this injectable one that doesn't cross over through breast milk. Now the baby, of course, is waking up. Okay, the needle is in. Now I press it down and it injects the blood thinner. Okay, it's injecting the medicine. I wait maybe 10 seconds. So this injection wasn't that painful because this one that I'm doing this morning is closer to the C-section scar. So that whole area is like kind of numb. Now I'm gonna pull it out. It's painful, not painful. Ooh, and then I'm done. So that is my blood thinner. And that's it. Then, watch out. Now I close it. Okay, you see there's still some left in there. I don't get it. Most of it went in, right? But there's still some dripping. I don't quite get that. Some days that doesn't happen. Some days it does. And then you do that. Now I have not been throwing these in the garbage because I don't know. My husband brought this up, and it's true. Like, you put it in the garbage or, in a dumpster, and kids or people that are at dump sites might get access to this, and you're creating a harmful type of situation. So I have a whole bunch collecting in my room of used injection needle thingies. So yeah, that's what's happening with me. How are you guys doing? We do more scans and see how my lung is doing, and we'll reevaluate if I need to be on the blood thinner for another 3 months for this injectable one. So that's not really fun, the injection thing. It's not like the most painful, but injecting yourself just isn't fun. It's not, and it does hurt, but it's a quick pinch most of the time. But some parts of my body seem like they're more sensitive than others, like the thighs sometimes are more sensitive than my torso. I don't know why. It's heavy because this is what my mother passed away from. It almost feels like a cruel joke. It's very bizarre and sort of a sick irony, but maybe it was just, I don't know. I have no idea why this happened, but it has forced me to slow down, and it does put in thoughts of like, is this what my mom went through? Is this what my mother went through? It plays with your mind when you have a parent that you literally lost. I was 23 when she passed away from this exact issue. Luckily, the pulmonologist is very confident about my recovery, my lung recovery. When I went to his office, I had to do a couple of different sort of like lung tests. One was just walking up and down the hall several times for about 6 minutes, some breath tests and things like that. And based off my results, he's highly confident that I will make a very good recovery at the 3-month mark. So that's good. My mother-in-law was here for at least 2 months, thank goodness. In hindsight, that really allowed me to not be pushed as far physically and probably allow my body to recover even more. Because she literally all the time wanted to hold the baby. If he was crying, she even wanted to hold the baby. Like, she wanted to hold him all the time. She was always offering so that I could rest. So that is who you heard singing in the beginning of this video with my husband, her son. They are truly amazing people. My mother-in-law is truly amazing. She had like a magical way with my son, as you saw.
Good.
Yeah. Oh, you can? Oh, cool. Is it wet over here or is it dry?
Dry.
Okay. That's nice.
Yes, and I've got drink too.
Okay. She was able to calm him down quicker than I was, to be honest, like when she was here. She just has a way about her. She's very wise. I can't thank her enough. I'm also extremely thankful to the doctor that I went to that day here when I told him my symptoms, that he took me seriously and he didn't brush me off, because those are things that easily, many times, get brushed off. And I'm also thankful to myself, just for listening to that inner voice, which is probably my mother, from heaven, like, Kaylan, get your ass to the doctor. Hey, you better get your ass in, So that is my birth story. The baby is fine. I have some footage of him. I'm going to show you him. It's hard. I just ran out to film this while he was napping, so that's why he's not in my lap. But I have some footage of him. I have some more footage of my mother-in-law and husband singing, if you guys want to hear that, because Namibians just have beautiful voices. I've noticed that from 2010 when I first moved here. And I have a lot of footage over the last few months as well that I would like to share with you guys of me going to Windhoek with my family to see the pulmonologist, which ended up being a fantastic trip, to be honest, because I got to see a good friend of mine and her daughter, and I just got to get out of my town and get some fresh air, which is always helpful postpartum. There were some surprising things that even happened on that trip as well. And yeah, you guys can come along for this ride of, my continued documentation of my motherhood as a Black American mother abroad in Namibia. Thank you guys so much for sticking around as always. Stay tuned for more videos. This video doesn't have the best lighting and everything like that. I just set this up on my own. I had to rush because I have a 2-month-old, I have a 3-year-old, and I have my 9-year-old, but mainly the 2-month-old. You know how it is if you have experience with babies and young babies. Working around their nap times, trying to get anything done really is almost impossible. And so I cannot strive for perfection, for perfect lighting and things like that. Women, men, anyone out there, again, if you know a woman that is postpartum, or 2 women that are postpartum, don't brush off any symptoms as big or small. Better to be on the safe side, because you can get, taken all the way out of here, like just like that. Yes, it is late October. The U.S. election is in a few days, actually, next week, and the Namibian presidential election is also within the next few weeks in November. So the world is very tense. I know you guys feel it. So I try to lean into my son for his energy and things like that, and my kids, and just the simplicity of my life, which at times feels boring, but I realize it's also a blessing in the midst of so much chaos around the world. So I will see you guys soon. Thanks so much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed this video and all the clips I tried to intertwine to make this video a little bit more interesting. And till next time.
Hey,